So a couple of weeks ago, we worked on like simplifying fractions and rational expressions, and now it's getting a little bit more complicated. And today, what we have is this expression here is a fraction, and on top of another fraction, and we have to learn to simplify them. Now, the first thing we want to do is find the lowest common denominator, and then when we find the lowest common denominator, we can use the quotient rule and just flip the bottom one and factor it, right? So let's write down the equation. So it's 1 over x plus 2 minus 2, okay? The whole thing over 4 over x plus 2 plus 2. I'm going to split this into 2. I'm going to take the numerator and I'm going to take the denominator apart, and I'm going to work on this together, right? So the first thing we have is 1 over x plus 2 minus 2. And I want to find the lowest common denominator, all right? So this fraction is like over 1, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is this. What is missing for this fraction? The x plus 2. I want to make this these denominators the same, right? So it's going to be, since they don't have anything in common, so the lowest common denominator, LCD,
Will be 1.
is be 1 times x plus 2, right? I'm going to put it in parentheses because you want to make sure these two fractions have the same denominator. You cannot add any fractions or subtract any fraction if they don't have the same denominator. Okay? So now, here's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to transform this 1 into x plus 2, and I'm going to multiply this one by 1, right? Which doesn't do much to it. It stays the same. And I'm going to multiply this one by x plus 2. I'm going to put a parenthesis to make it easier. But here's the thing. When I do something to the denominator, I have to do the same thing on the numerator, to the numerator, right? So this is going to be x plus 2. So we end up having 1 over x plus 2 minus 2 x plus 2 over x plus 2. And then we can put these two fractions together. Since they have the same denominator, we can just put them into one single denominator, which is x plus 2.
So once you get them all the same, you just put them on. You don't have to, if it's both the same thing, you just put 1.
1. Because that's the whole point, is to put them together, right? Over 2 x plus 2, right? And then we're going to do this with the next one, with this expression here, all right?
Same thing.
Same thing. So we're just going to jump to the, burn all those steps, and we're not going to waste our time because we already know what to do there. So the denominator is going to be x plus 2 still, right? And I'm going to multiply the 2 times x plus 2, right? Because we did the same step here. It's the same denominator, and it's like a similar fraction, so we're not going to waste time trying to elaborate on every single piece. All right? Now we can put them back together. So now we have the first fraction, which is 1 minus 2 x plus 2 over x plus 2, right? Over 4 plus 2 x plus 2 over x plus 2. X plus 2, correct? Okay, now I'm going to...
It still looks complicated. It still looks
crazy. It looks, but it's not going to be complicated. So I'm going to take this expression, and this is the thing. I'm going to keep this the same, and I'm going to flip this one, right? Because that's how the quotient rule. I'm going to recall the quotient rule. A over B divided by C over D is equal to A times D, right? Over A times D over BC, okay? So this is the same process here. I'm going to
flip. B times C or just BC?
B times C is BC is the same. All right? So we're going to do the same thing here. So we're going to take 1 minus 2 x plus 2, right? And I know it looks very complicated, but it's not, okay? You're going to see, I wanted to explain something to you first. And then we're going to multiply it by the reciprocal, right? Which is x plus 2 over 4, right? Plus 2x plus 2, all right? And then look, what can I do with these two here? Cross them up, right? So I'm left with 1 minus 2 x plus 2 over 4 plus 2 x plus 2. Now the last step will be, sorry, I broke the pencil. I was pressing on it too much. The last step will just be to split this to work on the top one, right? We're going to multiply that. It's going to be 1 minus 2x minus 2, right? Over 4 plus 2x plus 4. Okay, this is crazy that I did this over here. 1 minus 2x plus minus 4, I mean. I can't multiply, guys. Forgive me for that. Now it's going to be negative 3 minus 2x over 8 plus 2x. We're combining like terms, okay? And that should be the final result.
So
Hopefully, yeah, go ahead.
You just come out.
We have a second problem. In this case, we have a second degree expression, and we have to try to simplify this. So I actually wrote out the steps, and now I'm going to just go through them one at a time. So the first thing we want to do is just single out the numerator, and that's what we did over here. And then we want to find the lowest common denominator. Now, to find the lowest common denominator, we have to factor this expression. All right, expression. And I want two numbers whose product is negative 6 and sum is 5. So we have 6 and 1. And since this is negative and this is positive, so it's going to be 6 and then x plus 6 and x minus 1. So we split that. And then we do the same thing over here. Now we want to find the LCD because this is x minus 1. They already have x minus 1 in common. So all I need to add is x plus 6, which I did on both sides. Like, because if you do something in the denominator, you have to do the same thing on the numerator. And then now we have the same expression here. Now we put them into one single fraction denominator. Okay? And then the next thing is we're going to do the same thing with the denominator, which is right here. Since they have the same exact denominators, I just went ahead and just put this on top of that. Okay? So I hope you understand what I'm doing here. And then the next thing is just to flip this fraction because we're using the quotient rule and division rule or whatever, and we're gonna just simplify the like terms, which are cut out, and then we're gonna use the distribution rule here, and we end up with this, which is simplifying, combining like terms, and you get up to negative 5 minus 6 over 10 plus x. Now the x, hopefully you get what I'm saying, because I had to just write out the steps. I didn't want to do them like as I was working. So this is clear enough. All right, if you have any questions, be sure to just send me an email or whatever. We went from basically simplifying fractions to now solving equations. Are you sleepy?
Yeah.
So we're going to be doing the same thing here. Now, before we solve it, we have to find the common denominator for these two fractions, okay? Now, one is, people say that's not a fraction. One is 1 over 1, basically, right? So, again, 1 over 1, I keep on breaking all these pens because you're sharpening them too much. 1 over 1, right? 1 over 1, and the common denominator will be n, right? Now, here's the key. A lot of people like to complicate things, but what I do is this. I know that if I multiply every single entry by n, I'm going to simplify this and make the problem a lot easier. So I'm going to put a parenthesis here and multiply this by n and n, because every single entry here can be if I was trying to find the common denominator, right, for each of these fractions, it will be n for this one, n for this one, and I have to turn this into 1 times n, right? So if I do that, I'll make my problem simple because I multiply everything by n. Guess what's going to happen? This is going to cancel this one, right? This is going to cancel this one, and I'm going to be left with 3n squared plus 10n minus 10, right? Yeah. Minus n equals to 2, because if you multiply n times this, it gives you n, right? And then now you can solve this problem because it's a lot easier to work with now. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now what we have is we can put all on one side. So we're going to do 3n squared plus 10n minus 10 minus n minus 2 equals to 0. Okay? And that gives you 3n squared plus 10n, and then negative 10 minus 2 is negative 12. But we're going to put it in order. 10n minus n is 9n, so I should make it easier. I don't want to make it too complicated.
Combining.
Yeah, combine like term, right? Minus 12 is equal to 0. Now look, it's a lot easier. Now they all have what in common? N, but at the same time, this is a second degree, right?
Yeah.
But I can pull out a 3, correct? If I pull out a 3, I'm left with what? N squared plus 3n minus 4 equals to 0. And now I can solve this because now I want two numbers whose product is 4 negative 4 and sum is 3, right? 4 and 1.
Oh, you just turned it into a
Factorable form, right? So I got my 3 here, so it's going to be n, and since it's a negative, so it's going to be plus 4 minus 1. And all I have to do is set each one of these equal to 0, solve for n. I can let you do that. All right? So hopefully it makes sense. Okay?